Welcome to the TruGolf Academy. You've joined me, Jon Watts, today in my swing studio, and today's video is going to be telling you two things. It's going to tell you how to improve your consistency of strike. It's going to give you a larger margin of error on your contact, and it's secondly going to help you generate some more speed. So understanding this, and I'm going to go a little bit into the science behind it, but please bear with me. By understanding this, you, as I said, are going to be able to generate more speed and be more consistent with your contact. And I know that's what all golfers are really looking for. And it is something I've probably touched on before. And if you watched my channel before, seen some of these videos, you'll have heard me talk about this. But I want to perhaps go into the science behind it because it is a question I get a lot on social media. So I quite often talk about how the fact that our hands reach their lowest point at last parallel. The last parallel position is just before I hit the golf ball, where the club shaft is last parallel to the ground. And at this position, I talk about the fact that the hands are actually rising, the handle is rising into impact. And I did a video not too long ago about talking about the fact that the lead leg should be extending into impact. We don't want it still bent here. And it gets a lot of people concerned because they think they're going to top it. Now, if you are a player where you've never lost the height on the downswing, then you're absolutely right. By extending, you are more likely to top it. So if you're a style of player where you just maintain your levels, if you then do pull up, you're more likely to catch it more on the thin side. But what we see with the majority of elite golfers is their spine angle is changing on the downswing. So they're going into forward flexion, a little bit further forwards from their pelvis. So they're starting at a spine angle of around 45 degrees, and the majority of elite golfers are going this way towards about 35. So there is a slight loss of height in the downswing. I would like you to maintain height on the way back. I don't even mind a little height gain. There is a little loss of height as we almost bow down at the start of the downswing, and then we are actually extending into impact. And that is going to do two things for you, and I'm going to explain why. So I've got here a bit of a DIY moment, but it's something just to explain, because as I said, it's a question I get a lot of people are confused by it. The reason that pulling the handle upwards as we are extending into impact is a good thing is and can be explained by this. So if I use this as a pendulum, okay, so if this is a fixed point here now, obviously it's a little bit of a rough point because it's my hand, so bear with me, I realise it might be moving, but if I took this back to here, we know it's going to be wanting to accelerate downwards. So we get what we can call a pendulum movement here. It wants to go from here to the other side. But if I let this go, so we generate this speed, if I actually pull this point upwards, so as this is swinging downwards, the pendulum, think about this as being the golf club here, the head end. If I'm actually pulling this point upwards, as this is moving down towards earth, if I'm pulling upwards, this will actually be speeding up. So the club head end will actually speed up because the forces are trying to align themselves. So if I actually pull this part, which is the handle of the golf club, upwards as we start to extend, then this part, the golf club, is actually trying to race to marry up with the grip end. So it's trying to align the forces, and that's going to help generate more speed. So rather than just generating this speed, if I actually pull this part upwards, we start to generate a higher speed. Okay, so rather than just the normal, if I pull upwards from here, this is accelerating quicker. The other thing that happens is as we're pulling up, the pendulum, the club head, is actually still traveling downwards. Okay, so as this is traveling downwards and this is traveling upwards, they counteract each other, and it gives us what we call a longer flat point. So we actually get the club lower to the ground for a longer period, or flat zone. So we get a larger margin of error, as I said at the start. So if this handle is pulling up as the club head end is going down, we actually get a longer flat point here, or flat zone, which means that the strike is actually a little bit easier. It doesn't matter quite so much because we're not going down and then it up again. We actually get a longer low point here where we can strike the ball more consistently. So it's great for two things. More speed by simply the fact that this has got a certain amount of speed. If I pull this handle upwards, this is accelerating quicker, the club head end, to try and align itself. And the second part, as I said, is we get this longer low point because this is traveling upwards, this is traveling downwards, and they actually counteract each other, and it gives us a longer flat zone or low point. So it's great for a couple of reasons. Now, how can we practice that? And again, if you watch my videos, you'll have seen me do quite a bit of this. I like to see players stop at the top, squat, almost bow down. Now, you could do that with a range bucket between your knees and just simply try and feel like you drop the bucket. Here, we almost want to feel more like a cowboy knees. As I'm doing that, so stop at the top, squat, you can see there has been a change in posture, a little bit more forward flexion from my hips. That way. Now I'm a little bit lower and I'm going to hit the ground early, but now is where I am actually extending into impact, and that is my lead leg, and that is the handle of the golf club as well being pulled upwards. That makes this end travel quicker to try and align itself, and as I said, gives us this longer flat zone. So I'm just going to click on the screen so you guys can see these shots, but I would just put that into a pattern. So stop at the top, squat, little pump, 1, 2, 3. And I created a great contact and a nice push draw, and I felt like I was extending into impact. If we look at the club data, hopefully it's measured it, it will still tell me the club was traveling downwards by 4.5 degrees, yet I was actually moving upwards. So that's exactly what we're trying to create that's going to give us this speed. Let me try and put that into a fuller movement. So I do a lot more of those. I think they're a great way of feeling this. Now I'm just going to actually put this into a full swing. That's the feeling I'm trying to create. Well, that felt pretty much on the money. Hitting my green, landing about pin high, just right, and rolling to the back edge there. But that's a 6-iron flying 180, finishing 190 at 91 miles an hour. So it's pretty good club head speed, and it's helped by the fact that the club, as I said, is actually, for me, the handle of the club is rising into impact. I know that's a little bit scientific, but I really feel that if you can understand why I or other instructors are telling you these things, it's going to help your game. It's going to help your understanding. If you want to look into that any more, it's called parametric acceleration, where this end is actually moving upwards. This will be moving quicker. So if you want to get really geeky next time you're on the golf course and impress your friends or not, look a little bit into that. If you did enjoy that video and you did find the content useful, make sure you give us a thumbs up. And do subscribe to the channel as well. There's all the other content every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 5:30. Thanks, guys. We'll see you soon.